All right, guys, don't forget to reach out to us, therevolutiontv.com. There you're going to find links to our Facebook, Instagram. Reach out to us. You're not alone. Therevolutiontv.com.
Hard lessons in life make us who we are, and thankfully Derek Miner's mom modeled hard work and getting after it no matter what circumstances look like. And when God is for you, who can be against you? This was how Derek Miner did life.
When you look at the African American community, um, we have some challenges oftentimes, and oftentimes those are the family structures. And I think some of that often dates back to before us when you look at uh, slavery and different things. Like when you look at the root of slavery was we're gonna destroy the family. And that is the root. That's how you keep it alive. It's to destroy the family structure. So then you fast forward and you look at all of these different issues and the oppression. I think for our African American community, we have some issues that even go beyond just us that are really hard to wrestle with. My dad, growing up, uh, my grandparents, they didn't really finish school, anything like that, and lived in some of the poorest conditions you could think of. Most of the time, what people do is they medicate. And what my dad did oftentimes was medicate with drugs. He was addicted to crack cocaine. And he was a great guy, especially when he was sober. And he was a genius. Like, he's the only person I know to this day that taught himself how to read music. Like, he literally just looked at music and saw patterns, read books, and taught himself how to literally read music. So he's a genius, but also in that same time was dealing with a lot of issues. Just, his dad, he never met his dad, so when you see, again, things being passed down generation to generation, and it's hard to survive in America with, you know, both parents, let alone with just one. So what winds up happening is you begin to medicate, and for me, I felt the effects of that because oftentimes I would look around and see these really strong families and yearn for those things, and I would just look and just be like, man, just frustrated, angry, hurt inside. But I think what God allowed before he died, me and my dad were on the best terms we've ever been on. And I think what God allowed me to do, one was to me and him to reconcile in a most amazing way. Got a chance to share the gospel with him. I would say he responded well to it. So I'm pretty confident that he's in heaven now. And then also, I think me being a dad now, I didn't realize how hard being a dad is. It's hard. It is because when who you take a guy who hasn't had a father, and then you say, okay, raise this little kid, and then also you have to also be the leader of your household, dealing with your wife and all of the pressures that the world brings to you. I could understand how a person would medicate if they were thrown into a situation and they didn't have it. Kids, they don't come with an instruction booklet. So, uh, but yeah, it's really cool just to know that God allowed me to share the gospel with them. The legacy I would love to leave for my kids is that my dad was a man of God. And I think the reason why I would choose that as a legacy is because all the other stuff kind of lands under that. That's kind of like the umbrella of it all. Um, if you're a man of God, you stick close to your family, you lead them in the ways of righteousness and holiness and morality. You work hard, you take care of business, you don't cheat people, and all those different things. So I could say, hey, I don't want to be known as a liar, but then, there's so many other things. But when you're known as a man of God, hopefully what people will see when they see you is a person that is not necessarily perfect, but is striving for perfection. And that's my goal, is not necessarily to be perfect. Well, my goal is to be perfect, but when I'm wrong, be man enough to admit that I am wrong. And be man enough to go, not just admit I'm wrong, but actually fix it. And I think if I can do that with my children, I believe that, Lord willing, they'll be able to teach the same things to their kids and live a life that is of great value to our community. Unfortunately, my story is very familiar throughout the United States and probably throughout the world. What I would love to tell you is, regardless of where you come from, your race, color, creed, no matter if you're American or you've never seen America before, I want to tell you this, that your life is not determined by what people tell you. People told me I was going to be all types of things. Much of that was negative. But you fast forward to today, and what I know is that every step in my life was ordered by God, and God is literally in control. So what I want to tell you is, no matter where you're from, whether you come from a rich house, poor house, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever color you are, if you're 6'7" or you're 5'7" or 4'7", it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you put your faith in Jesus. Because if you put your faith in Jesus, I can't tell you that your circumstances will change. But what I can tell you is you'll have peace that will surpass all understanding. That regardless of whether you're successful in the eyes of man or whether you're not as successful in the eyes of man, it won't matter. And let me jump onto that success word. Oftentimes we think of success as being rich, but there's a reason why you see rich people kill themselves every day. There's a reason why you see some of our most famous people we've ever seen go into deep, dark depressions and do things that are really, really mind-boggling when us as normal people look. And I would say is that getting more stuff doesn't fill that God-shaped hole in your heart. Only God can fill that. So there's no amount of money. There's no amount of attraction from the opposite sex. There's no amount of fame, prestige, or anything that will fill that hole. It's only God, and only He can do it. And I would say run to Him with your arms wide open.
Priorities. Derek is talking about what really matters at the end of the day. Because even if your heart burns with ministry for people, our family is first. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell Kat all the time, family is my first ministry. Kat, Christian, Victor, that's where I have to share the gospel. Amen. Every day, not just with words, but with my life. It needs to reflect Him. And so today, when you see someone like Derek going through this and sharing his heart, you realize that, hey, he has his priorities lined up. He could be touring and grinding, but at the end of the day, he wants to be there first for his wife and his kids. So at the end of the day, when you're looking at your kids, that's how you're going to change the world. You pour into them, and they're going to pour out. Every day as you pour into other people, you can never forget that ministry starts at home.
Amen on that. I love what Derek says in one of his songs, Change the World, that we're all made in His image, which is greatness, and we should see His reflection inside each of us. We're living in a world filled with turbulence. It's a melting pot of cultures. But if we get that simple principle to respect that every human was made in God's image, that filter could change so much. So take that simple challenge, church, and be the change. If God is for us, who can be against us?